going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following along. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Thanks for joining us over on Instagram. That's a lot of thank yous to all you guys. Also, reminder, keep sending me some pictures of your DSMs at todaysprojectguide@gmail.com. We're going to start throwing those into every single video now, including this one right here. So stay tuned to the end. You might see your ride at the back end, and throw your hashtag, throw your Instagram handle, your Facebook, or your YouTube channel in there if you want to, and we'll put that at the end of every single one of our uploads, depending on who it is. Still got a couple of cup holders in the runnings. I'm going to pick the winner of that giveaway in the next 5 days, so stay tuned for the next upload after this one to find out who that is, and we're going to send you guys out a couple of free cup holders to bolt into your DSM. But anyways, you guys see this nice little pile of parts down here on the floor. I have a buddy who drives just picked it up, a 2009 Chevy Cobalt LT. He picked it up, an accident happened, somebody hit his front end, broke his headlight, broke his grill and bumper, crumpled his hood a little bit. It was a very, very clean car with 70,000 miles, and it was in great shape. The interior was mint, the exterior was mint, so I'll insert a clip or a picture of the damages to the front end right here. And that is going to be all the replacement parts right here, and as you can tell, they're primed in black. We just picked a bunch of this stuff up. We got an eagle eye set of headlights down here. Well, one headlight for the passenger front side. We got a new grill and a black primed brand new bumper that we're going to have to paint. So that being said, we also have some paint work that we're going to continue to work on with the GSX, and I know that's what you guys all tune into this channel to see, is that GSX. So I wanted to share all this stuff. Thanks to you gentlemen and ladies, there's like 2 of you, we picked up a whole plethora of goodies here. We have, let's start from the left and work our way across. So first up, we have 6-ounce cans of the tricolor coat for the Cobalt on the left. There's a base coat and a top coat, and then we have primer and clear coat. We have Bondo spot putty. We got some Bondo to patch some spots on the hood. We have our DSM color for our magenta gray pearl coat. It is 5261 paint code from O'Reilly's Auto Parts. That stuff is great. Just picked up a 6-inch Bauer polisher, basically. That thing's got speed control. It's pretty awesome. We've got a finishing, a compound, and a polishing wheel. So these they don't bolt, they Velcro onto that. Got to get my words together here. We also got another 6-inch backing pad that bolts into that. We've got ourselves some 600, some 800, some 600, and some 1000 in 2 different sizes. Yeah, we got a lot of sandpaper. We also got ourselves some Merlin hose, and this is the cheaper hose that you can pick up at your Harbor Freight. We also got ourselves a Central Pneumatic HVLP gravity-fed spray gun with regulator. So we are going to be hooking that up to a very small compressor that's sitting on the table right over here. And the reason we're going to do that is because that 3-gallon 100 psi maximum pancake style Central Pneumatic compressor can run at a lower output, which this gun takes. The minimum on this gun is 15 psi. I know it's going to run a lot. We're going to be doing some small painting and some small repairs with that. We're not going to do that in today's video. We're going to be using our spray cans, our base coat, our sander, our oil sander, some Bondo, all that fun stuff. And we're going to go outside and we are going to clean off the front end of the GSX and find all the little spots that need to be corrected. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a yellow paint marker. I'm going to get a couple of towels, a bucket of warm water with some Dawn soap in it, so that'll hopefully clean off any grease or oil or anything in the areas that we're going to be working. And we're going to go clean that hood off because there are a couple of pretty bad rust spots that need to get addressed ASAP, and we've got to just make that car look nice. Take you guys outside, show you what I got to repair and what we're going to do today and tomorrow. Alright, so I've got every single paint chip, scar, scratch, imperfection all circled with bright yellow paint. And as you can see, we've got a lot of them. There's probably 40 of them on here. Some of them are worse than others. This is the main one right here. You can see that got all the way through the paint, started to bubble the metal up a little bit. There's a couple of them that are starting to rust underneath. You can see them as we go through here. These little chips have all gotten worse for wear. There's another one, a couple bad ones here. I mean, they're speckled all over the place, but there's probably 10 of them that are really bad, including that one right there. So now I'm gonna dry everything off on the sides, the fenders, the hood, and, well, the fenders, the bumper, the headlights. I'm gonna go around, start taping everything off, and get this thing ready, because we have to protect the fenders, we have to protect the whole front end, and we have to protect the windshield. We'll take the wipers off later, and we're gonna paint those again also. But for right now, we got a lot of taping and protecting to do. So we're gonna get all this stuff put on. I did use alcohol in the squirt jug that I have, some 70% alcohol, and went over the whole thing to make sure there's no wax or anything left on it. Basically what we're gonna do, I'm thinking, is go through everything from, I don't know, maybe the whole hood. We might have to do the whole hood. It looks like the whole hood should get a nice new coat, and considering that the work that we're gonna do is gonna be fresh paint, I'm afraid that it's gonna look like a brand new panel and everything else is gonna look dull. No worries, we're gonna hit the fenders eventually. We're gonna hit the roof, we're gonna hit the doors. We're just gonna work our way around this thing. The other stuff that I wanna hit is this black trim right here. You can see it's got digs in it. I may clean all this black off. It looks like it was spray painted or something at one point. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure. We'll clean all that off, maybe vinyl wrap that, or paint the trim. I don't know yet, but our focus is this hood. So I'm gonna start taping all this stuff off. I got plastic sheets out. I'm gonna dry everything, tape it, cover it up, and get it ready, because we're gonna start sanding here in just a minute. Now we've got our whole front end nice and secured and taped up real good. I went a little excessive on the painter's tape because the wind was blowing and kind of pulling up on this, and I don't want it to rip off. So the hood is now completely sealed up all the way around it. The fenders, the sides of the doors, the wheels, front bumper, and we can start work on taking out some of these pits and getting rid of some of this rust. So this is gonna be a fun one, guys. I'm gonna get started hand sanding this stuff tonight, and tomorrow when we come out here, we're gonna sand the whole hood down, get it all cleaned off and wiped down. Hopefully tonight I can get some bondo on some of the bad spots, but I don't know. Let's just start getting after it. We'll see where we land. Last night I came out here with a coarse buff and just took down every single spot that was rusty and crappy looking, and surprisingly the worst spot was right down here. It was only surface rust. It just got to the hood. It didn't really chew into any of the structure of the metal. And then I used my orbital sander for just a few minutes because it was really late and it's kind of loud. And I took some of this clear off, but I'm gonna go plug the orbital sander back in, and we're gonna take this entire hood down to base coat and just smooth everything out. Maybe going with the 80 grip buff wasn't the brightest idea, but it did clean all the rust off. So you can see it got wet and it started to resurface rust. That's how fast this stuff flash rusts up here in upstate. So I don't know, I think that it's gonna be all right. I'm gonna get you guys off to the side over my shoulder and fire up this orbital sander rather, and start knocking this down. Should be fun. We were met with an untimely rainstorm. I didn't realize it was supposed to rain today, but that's all right. We've got all this stuff sanded down really, really, really well. I used 800 grit on this whole thing, 600 then 800, I'm sorry. First, cleaning off these rust patches or these paint chips with the buff that I used was probably a little extreme, but it's all right. I've gotten all these spots nice and smooth. You can actually tell when you're done sanding, not only by feel, because there's no drag or dip, but you can see metal, base primer, a base coat, another coat of the color, and then the top coat. The clear also peels around it, but I mean, you can see this like fisheye. So if you just see a small circle of metal, like I haven't gotten to this side yet, this right here, you can feel it. It's a deep dig in the paint, it's all the way down to the metal, getting the surface rust off. But if you come over to a spot like this where you can see the primer and all that is around it and all the different layers, and you run your hand across it, it's nice and smooth, you don't feel a little concave dip anywhere. That's what you want. So I'm actually going to have to expand on a few more of these spots. They feel pretty good, but they're not 100% smooth yet. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is going over all of this with a very, very small amount of the glazing putty and just skim a couple of the spots that don't come out smooth. There's only a couple of them that I really think I'm going to have to do that with. This spot right here is that little black dot in the center. That's a little rust dot. I'm going to get that taken care of. There's a couple little tiny spots on this one right here that you can see that are black. I'll take care of those too with that glazing compound. But for the most part, I feel like everything here is sanding down really nice and smooth. There's no holes like I assumed there would be. I honestly thought that one right there in the front was going to be a big notch, like a big hole or a big chunk of the metal that has to be replaced. And I didn't want to weld on the hood because that'll cause it to bend and deflect and all that stuff. So anyways, I think that's where we're going to call it for right now. I may come out a little later if the rain stops, but we're looking good. I'm super excited about this, and I cannot wait to get the first coat of primer down and the first coat of the color. What's going on, guys? We're back here on, what did we call this, day 3 or so. We did a bunch of work on this thing so far, and you can see with the sun, the reflection, we've knocked down a lot of the clear coat, got a lot of it scuffed, but there's still shiny spots. Like right here, it's shiny, right there, the upper lip, around the wiper sprayers. Sorry for the wind, by the way. It's absolutely really, really wicked windy out right now. Anyways, I've decided to go back on my super fine sandpaper plan, and we're going to go a little bit more aggressive here. So we're going to go probably 400 across this whole thing. Then we're going to jump into 600, then 800, all that fun stuff. But first, I'm going to get my smaller palm sander out, which fits a 400 grit 5-inch pad. I picked up some Diablo paper from Home Depot. I got some 220 hook and loop 6-inch pads right over here. I just don't think I want to go 220. I may have to once I skim coat the hood with Bondo. I'm just going to try to skim coat all these little spots and smooth them out, glazing compound them, sand them smooth, primer the hood, yada yada. But we're going to start knocking this next step down, so I'll see you guys while I got the sander in my hand over my shoulder. We're going to use this stuff. This is a SandNet Diablo's brand. These are like the felt pads. This is a 400 grit. We're going to use this, go over the whole hood, mainly try to knock down the clear coat and any of the other areas that it's there at. And I'm going to start working out some of the areas around which we've already sanded. All the little holes and all that, the little spots that you see on the hood. We're going to try to smooth out everything that's around them and get those prepared so that we can come out here and do some skim coating. Actually really bad today. It's whipping like crazy, and if you guys listen in the background every few minutes, you'll probably hear my neighbor behind me here. They have a busted screen door, and it's been just slamming as hard as possible all day long. Super exciting stuff right here, guys. But anyways, got this thing knocked down to 400 solid. You can see that the primer and bare metal spaces are a lot bigger right here. We actually had a little bit of pitting, a little tiny bit of surface rust on there, and some stuff along the edge that goes right under the curve there, right on the outer curve. I went through and I just used my little 5-inch palm sander, and then I'm going to hit it again once we're done with the next step, which is letting this bad boy dry for a few minutes. I'm going to let this dry for about 15-20 minutes and get my putty out here and get ready to mix my Bondo up. Should be fun. Anyways, I wanted to share this part with you. This is the part that I screwed up the last few times that I tried to use Bondo prior to us repairing our strut tower. I actually watched a couple of videos on YouTube. Sorry for the wind. So you have your Bondo here. We're just using regular Bondo, and we have our cream hardener right here. Now, this stuff will solidify super quick if you pile it all up on your workpiece, because the exothermic reaction, it gets warm and it hardens. you want to keep it spread out, because the hotter it gets, if it's all piled up, it's going to get really warm really quick. It's going to solidify even faster. So in order to keep its workability or extend its workability, you kind of spread it out. And this is a piece of ABS plastic that I have left over from Summit Racing when we built some bumper ducting and some other stuff with it. But anyways, I'm using this. Got my spreader. And another great tip that I learned from B is for Build. If you guys don't watch them, go over and follow them. They do some crazy cool stuff. Putting this filler on, you don't let it set up all the way. You put it on, after about 5-10 minutes, it'll start to tack up real hard and start to solidify. That's when you want to attack it and rough out the shape that you're trying to get. Don't let it fully set up all the way hard. That was one of the best tips that I've ever gotten from this stuff. If you start to sculpt the piece when it starts to fall apart, when it's not fully hard, you can take off a good amount of the material that you don't want on. So if you put it on a little heavy, normally it'll take you hours to sand it down. It turns into concrete. But if you catch it probably 5-10 minutes into setting up, it's kind of cool out here today, so it's going to help me get a little bit of extra working time. But if you catch it before it fully hardens, it's so much easier to sculpt and so much easier to mold into the shape that you're trying to make out of it. So first things first, we got to mix our hardener in here. This is a brand new container. This is just regular old Bondo. So we're going to put a nice glob right here, right about there. You don't want to go too heavy on it because I want to have a little bit more working time. If you add more hardener, it'll solidify faster. If you do a little less, it'll take a few extra minutes. And the other important part is to just fold this stuff together. You don't want to work air bubbles into it. So I just kind of mush it all together and scratch it up and fold it all around. It's all going to be one uniform color. You want to push all the extra air bubbles out of it and just keep folding it together and folding it together, and eventually you'll end up with a really nice uniformed mix. Alright, so now you can see we have a nice uniform mix. It's all the same color. We're going to leave this nice and flat and spread out so it doesn't get super hot and solidify even faster. So I'm going to start laying this on nice and thin. I'm going to stick you guys over my shoulder and we're going to knock this out real fast. We used pretty much all of what we had, so we're going to let this sit here. And the beauty of using a piece of ABS plastic is it's really, really bendy. So we're going to let this solidify on here and we can crack it all off in pretty much one solid piece. Same with my little tool that I'm using here, the little spreader. It looks messy right now, but we're going to give it about, I don't know, 3-4 minutes to start to solidify, and I'm going to take my sander out and I'm going to start to rough this while it's still setting up, and that's going to give me so much more progress. Even though, you know, there's a lot extra on there, it's all right. Watch how easy this stuff comes off. All right, boys, it has been a while. Had to go charge you up for a little bit, but as you can see, there's only a tiny little bit of Bondo left on some of these spots, and that's perfect. You can see that's it. All that big old gob that we put on all these holes or all these dents or all these spots where we sanded down the paint chips or the rust, it's all nice and smooth. There's very little left inside of these spots, but this thing is like, I don't know, I can't pick up any more scratches, or I don't feel any more imperfections. It all feels smooth and uniform. Even though it feels smooth and uniform, we did go over it with 220. That was what I brought all the Bondo down with. Now we're going to jump up to a 600 grit because we've took so much of that Bondo out and smoothed everything up so much. I don't want to risk taking out that last little bit because it feels so good already. I'm gonna keep on this. I'm gonna fire up the 600 grit on the big dog, and we're gonna run this down a little bit further, get it nice and smooth. Tack cloth, primer, sand it, keep on moving along. We are covered in dust. I just got done going over this thing with 600 grit. I do gotta say, this Bauer sander is an absolute animal. It's a 6-inch random polisher. but it's got a Velcro tip on it, and you can hook and loop style sandpaper to it. It works like a champ. I haven't had any issues with it at all. And the speed control, the variable speed, is a game changer. Definitely makes this job way easier. Well worth the $88 at Harbor Freight. So instead of using the palm sander the whole time, the little 5-inch, the 6-inch high powered variable speed random sander or polisher, I mean, it's going to do the best job for you if you're doing a big panel like this, because I mean, you can cover a lot of area relatively quick. I love it so far. I've used palm sanders before, and palm sanders take quite a while. They do the same thing, or you can do it by hand. I mean, it literally is up to you. If you have the money to go get the sander, or you're planning on doing some body work like this, go for it. So anyways, you can see all the paint chips, all the little rust holes are all cleaned up. I popped the hood open and got the front edge there, the lip. There's dust just friggin' everywhere. This is 99% isopropyl alcohol that we bought during the crazy times we had over the last couple of years. So this is the last bottle I got. Just ordered a bunch more, and I got some microfiber. So I'm going to take this 99% alcohol, spray the hood, wipe this whole thing down. The wind has died down significantly now, thank God. It is kind of randomly gusty still, but that's all right. And it's starting to get dark out. But guess what? I do a lot of work at night, and I don't care. It can be cold, it can be windy, whatever. I'm gonna have to sand this paint anyway. So I'm gonna stick you guys back right here if I can fix you to my tripod. There we go. Aim you where I'm working. I'm gonna do another time lapse, and I'm gonna clean this off, and once it dries, we are going to use a special paint. Well, not really special, but it's a primer that I got. I'll show you real fast. So another thing, these gloves that I'm wearing are 7mm Harbor Freight gloves. You can catch them on sale for like $7.99 or something like that a box. So I usually buy like 10 boxes at a time and just stash them. But anyways, first thing we're going to use is this right here. This is Rust-Oleum. You can find it anywhere. It's filler primer. It's high build formula, and this is great for fixing little imperfections. So instead of skim coating with bondo, this may do, well, you know, the bondo putty, instead of going over and skim coating the little spots to fill imperfections, this may do the trick. So we have that, and like I said before, we also have a darker color, which is this automotive primer, and we're going to use both of them. This is a fast drying, wet sandable, blah blah blah. I'm going to use the first one, regular dry sand it. Once I get it on the hood, then I'm going to go over the whole hood again with the automotive primer that's a little darker. We're going to wet sand that down with a 600 grit, and once that's done, hopefully it will dry up real nice, and we'll be able to start laying some color on this thing. All right, we got this whole hood wiped down with our microfiber towels and 99% rubbing alcohol. Whew, couldn't get that out. Don't know why. But anyways, these are some of the things that I wanted to show you. You can kind of see there's these little white dots. There's a couple of them here. These are very small, almost pinholes. And there's a couple of them down here too. They are very smooth, but you can still feel there's like a little tiny lip on them. So the rest of the hood is in beautiful condition. Everything came out great so far, but there's a couple of them right here too. You can see this one kind of ate some bondo up, as well as its little brother right below it. Everything is really smooth. There's one right here. But what we're gonna do is hope that this high build primer is going to fill some of these microscopic imperfections. I mean, they are very tiny. It's starting to get dark out here, obviously, so I'm gonna wait in between the wind here, and hopefully this sandable fillable primer will fill these tiny little spots right here. And I know you think that's rust. Unfortunately, it's not rust. It's well, actually, not unfortunately, it is not rust. It is the Diablo sanding disc kind of embedded itself just a little bit right in a couple of spots. I think that that's going to be all right. It's so super smooth, I didn't want to try to dig it out or sand any more of the metal down. But the rest of this thing looks really good. So we're going to hope that that stuff will make like the bondo, stay underneath the paint and not cause a problem in the future. If it does, no big deal. We can fix a couple tiny little spots, blend and buff it in if we need to. I am ecstatic right now. I am so excited that we've gotten it to this point. I am ready to start laying down some primer. So without any further ado, let's get after it. And if you still are with us right now, all the way through to the end of this video, thank you very much for watching to this point. Obviously it's running pretty long, so I'm going to cut it right here for right now. I've already finished this project, so make sure you stay tuned for episode number 2 or part 2 of going through the hood and fixing it up, painting it, and all the steps that we've gone through. I know it's run long, it's about a half an hour so far, and I do apologize for that. I tried to cut it down as much as I could. I know that there's quite a bit of extra talking in there, but at the same time there's some pretty good information that I feel like you guys should hear, and it will help you if you're going to do this at your own house or out in your driveway or in your garage or wherever, and you've never done it before. So make sure to like and subscribe to the video. Thanks again for following along. Go over and take a look at our Instagram, follow our TikTok channel, which we just put up, which is today's project guide on TikTok. And if you have any questions about any of the parts or any of the tools, any of the equipment, paint, etc., where you can find some good deals on paint match and how to go about finding the correct paint match for your own vehicle, you can check some of the links down below. I'll put one of the websites that I use to find Mitsubishi paint codes and a couple of the other places where you can find some paint that will work for your vehicle. Also, if you're trying to go to your local O'Reilly's, if you have one nearby, and you don't have a paint area, you can actually reach out to the paint store that's in my town here, and I will put the phone number for them down below, and you can use the same paint that I use in this video. And also want you guys to keep in mind that the fact that we are painting the hood on this car with fresh, brand new paint, took it all the way down to primer, and in some places metal, you are going to see a little bit of a difference. And for me, I had quite a significant difference with just doing the hood versus doing, you know, the whole car at once. The fresh paint versus the 24-year-old sun faded paint was, you know, you could tell the difference pretty significantly. The tone was different, and I laid it myself, and maybe I did a little too much, and maybe I didn't do enough. I don't know. They came out great looking though, so stay tuned for the next episode. I appreciate all you guys sticking through to the end of this, and definitely stay tuned for the next one. We have one more episode coming up in the next couple of days. I'm going to try to get that put together for you real fast and upload that as fast as humanly possible. I don't like leaving two-parters out there. But anyways, I am super proud of the end result. I'm happy with where we landed, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. So anyways, without any further conversation here, thanks again for watching. You guys take care. We'll see you right back here for another episode very, very soon.